40 years. That's how long I spent postponing my own life. Not living it, postponing it. Telling myself the real part was coming, the good part. The part where I'd finally slow down and be present and enjoy what I'd built. I'm Frank. I'm 92 years old. I have a bad knee, a son who lives 3 states away, and enough regret to fill the room you're sitting in. And what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes took me nearly a century to understand. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing. Put the phone down and listen. Really listen. Because I'm only going to say it once. You are running a race that has no finish line. And here's the part you don't know. The clock started the day you were born. Not when you graduate. Not when you land the job. Not when you get your act together. It started at birth. It's been running ever since. And it does not pause for anyone. You treat your days like there's a reserve tank somewhere. Like time is a bank account you haven't overdrawn yet. I'll be present when things settle down. I'll call her when I'm not so tired. I'll take the trip when work lets up. You say these things the same way I said them. Same exact words, probably. And the thing nobody told you, the thing I'm going to tell you right now, is that things settling down is not a season. It's a lie. Things don't settle down. You just get older inside the chaos. And one day you look up and the chaos is gone. The house is quiet. And every person you were going to be present for has already moved on. Or moved out. Or moved on in the permanent sense. And all you've got left is the memory of how busy you were. That's not a warning. That's my life. Let me tell you about a Thursday in March, 1974. I was 44 years old, regional sales director. The kind of job where they gave you a company car and a briefcase and told you that you'd made it. I believed them. My best friend, really my only genuine friend, a man named Gerald, called me that Thursday morning. He wanted to have lunch. Said he had something he needed to talk about. And I remember exactly what I said. I said, Gerald, I've got the Hartford account breathing down my neck. Can we do Monday? He said, sure. Monday never came for Gerald. Saturday night his wife found him on the kitchen floor. Massive stroke. He was gone before the ambulance reached the hospital. He was 46 years old. I stood at his funeral in my good suit, and I could not tell you what the Hartford account was even worth. I could not tell you one thing about that deal. But I can tell you Gerald's laugh. I can tell you that he used to order the same thing at every diner. Black coffee, and whatever the pie was that day. I can tell you that he was the kind of man who stopped to help strangers change tires on the side of the road in the rain. I can tell you everything about Gerald and not one word about the deal that was more important than lunch with him. That's the thing about the clock. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't send you a calendar invite. It just keeps going. After Gerald died, I went right back to work, Monday morning, because there were accounts, because there was always something. That is the part I'm most ashamed of. I grieved him in the car on the way to a client meeting, wiped my eyes at a red light, and walked into that building with my hand out and my smile on. And nobody there knew that the best person I'd ever known had just left this earth. My wife, Dorothy, she knew something was wrong. She told me to take a few days, take a breath. She made this pot roast, I remember the smell of it, and she sat at the kitchen table and waited for me to say something real. And I sat down and I said, "I'm fine. What do we have going on this week?" She looked at me for a long time. Then she got up and put the leftovers away. I didn't understand what that meant for another 20 years. She wasn't putting away the food. She was putting away the hope that I'd show up. That was the moment Dorothy stopped waiting for me to come home, even when I was sitting right there at the table. We stayed married 51 years. Good marriage, mostly. She was a good woman, a great woman. But I know now, I can see it from here, from 92 years, that I gave her maybe 30% of myself and told myself I was giving everything. Because I was tired, because work was hard, because the clock was running and I had things to do, and I'd be fully present just as soon as things settled down. Dorothy died 9 years ago, February, cold morning. The day before she passed, she was lucid for a few hours, which was rare by then. And she held my hand and she looked at me and she said, "Frank, you were a good provider. Not a good husband, not a good father, a good provider." I have thought about those 4 words every single day since. Here's what I finally understood. Sitting in that hospital room with her hand going cold in mine. I had confused being busy with being alive. They are not the same thing, not even close. I thought the clock was my enemy, something to outrun, to fill up, to justify. If I wasn't productive, the clock was beating me. So I stayed productive. I stayed efficient. I stayed useful. And in doing that, I became, what's the word? Absent. Present in body, gone everywhere else. The clock isn't your enemy. The clock is the whole point. Every tick of it is a moment you're either in or you're not. And the tragedy isn't that the clock runs out. The tragedy is running the whole race, looking at your shoes, never once lifting your head to see who's running beside you. I lifted my head too late, but you haven't, not yet. I've known a lot of men my age, a lot of them gone now. And there's a pattern I've watched play out over and over, like a movie where you already know the ending. There's a man I know, Walter, 88 years old, who retired at 65 with more money than his kids will ever spend. 3 homes, 2 of them empty most of the year. His wife left him in 1991. His children call out of obligation, not love, and he knows the difference. Walter sits in his biggest empty house and talks about what his portfolio is doing. At 88, he measures himself in assets because he stopped having anything else to measure himself in somewhere around 1,985. And he is one of the most miserable men I have ever known. Not because of anything that happened to him, because of everything he chose. Then there was a man on my street named Roy. Roy made ordinary wages his whole life, fixed transmissions for 30 years, had a house the size of my garage. But every Saturday morning without fail, Roy was on his front porch, coffee in hand, waving at whoever walked by. His grandkids came every weekend, not because they had to, because they wanted to. When Roy died at 84, they held the service in a gymnasium because the church wasn't big enough. 300 people. 300 people came to say goodbye to a man who fixed transmissions. You know how many people would come to Walter's funeral? I don't ask that to be cruel. I ask it because the answer is the whole point. Walter won the game. Roy forgot there was a game. Roy was the one who lived. So let me tell you what I'd do if I could go back, not as philosophy, as instruction. First, say the thing today, whatever it is you've been meaning to say, to your father, to your kid, to that friend you haven't called in 8 months. Say it today. Not because the moment is right. The moment is never going to be perfectly right. Say it anyway. You're afraid of being vulnerable. I understand. I was too. And now I'm 92 years old, and Dorothy has been gone 9 years. And there are things I never said to her that are lodged in my chest like shrapnel. Be less afraid and more honest while you still can. Second, stop deferring the experience. That trip, that conversation, that afternoon with your kid where you actually turn the phone over and just sit with them. Stop moving it to later. Later is a myth. I deferred Gerald's lunch to Monday. There was no Monday. You got people in your life right now who are on borrowed time, and you don't know it, and neither do they. Act like it. Third, let the busyness be loud and be present anyway. I know you're not going to quit your job. I know things don't slow down just because you read this. But being present isn't about clearing your schedule. It's about deciding, consciously, deliberately, that the person in front of you right now is worth your full attention for the next 10 minutes. You can do 10 minutes. Even I could do 10 minutes. I just kept choosing not to. The clock started the day you were born. It hasn't stopped since. I'm tired. Talking does that to you at 92. Gets into your bones. But I want you to know something before I go. I don't regret Gerald. I don't regret Dorothy. I don't even regret the years I lost exactly. Because they gave me this, the view from the other side. And the view is very clear from here. Clearer than anything I saw when I was in the middle of it. What you're looking for isn't at the end of the to-do list. It never was. If this got under your skin, good. That's where it's supposed to go. Share it with someone who's been putting something off. You know who they are. And tell me in the comments, what's the thing you've been deferring? What is the Monday lunch you keep postponing? I read them, every one. And if you want more of these conversations, there's a button for that. Now, go call somebody.